The morning sun broke through the tall trees of Eldoria Forest, making light spots on the ground. Lyra Winters sat tall on her dragon Ember, whose scales shined red and gold in the sunlight. The pair moved through the thick trees on patrol, like they did every day since the strange signals started coming from the border areas. Lyra was not like other humans. Her ears came to points, and her body was slim and tall. Her eyes were big and green, like the forest around her. People called her kind. The forest elves, though, they were really humans who changed after many years on Eldoria. The planet changed them, made them fit better in its world. Ember was a special dragon made by human scientists who mixed old Earth animal genes with local creatures. The result was a fire-breathing flying partner who bonded with Lyra when both were young. Now they were one team, one mind almost, and they protected the borders of their land from anyone who might attack. 20 years had passed since the scary aliens, called Vrexians, tried to take over Eldoria. They came in huge ships that blocked out the sun. Their weapons burned villages and killed many people. Lyra was just a small child then, living with her mother in a village near the big lake. She remembered. That day, every time she closed her eyes, the Vrexian ships came down from the sky, making a sound like thunder. The village alarm rang and people ran in fear. Her mother grabbed her hand and they ran toward the forest. But the aliens were too fast. Burning light hit the houses around them and soon everything was on fire. Her mother fell down, hit by something. Lyra tried to help, but she was too small, too weak. Then through the smoke came a human woman wearing the uniform of Earth soldiers. The woman picked up little Lyra and ran fast away from the burning village. That soldier woman had eyes that seemed to look right through you. Lyra remembered. Her face was kind, but strong, with short hair the color of sand. She carried Lyra all the way to the refugee camp, and before she left to go back to fight, she told Lyra something that the girl never forgot. "You will be safe now, I promise." The soldier spoke in a soft voice. "We will stop them. They will not win. And someday, you will be strong, enough to protect others too." The soldier left after that, going back to fight the aliens, and Lyra never saw her again. But she kept those words in her heart as she grew up. Now Lyra was a commander in the Eldorian Defense Force with her dragon partner. She had trained hard, learning how to fight, how to lead, how to protect, just like that soldier said she would. After the big war ended, the humans from Earth and the Eldorians made an alliance to work together and be ready if the Vrexians ever came. Ember made a low sound in her throat and stopped walking. Her big head turned to the east and her nostrils opened wide. "Smelling something. What is it, girl?" Lyra asked, putting her hand on the dragon's neck. She had learned long ago to trust Ember's senses. The dragon could smell things miles away and hear sounds no human or elf could catch. Ember turned her body and Lyra moved with her. They left the path and went deeper into the trees. The dragon moved quiet for such a big creature. Her feet barely made noise on the forest floor. They went on like this for almost an hour, going up and down hills, through streams, until they came to a ridge overlooking a valley. Lyra felt her heart beat faster when she saw what was in the valley. 3 Vrexian scout ships sat in a clearing. Their metal sides reflected the sun, making them look like giant insects. The ships were small compared to the big invasion vessels, but they were still dangerous. Each one could hold 20 armed Vrexian soldiers. Vrexian scouts here after all these years, Lyra whispered to herself. She pulled out her field glasses and looked closer. Some aliens were outside their ships setting up equipment. They looked just like Lyra remembered, tall with skin that had scales like fish or snakes. Their heads were shaped different from humans, with no hair and eyes that were all black. Lyra knew she needed to report this right away. The peace treaty said no Vrexian ships could enter Alliance space without permission. These scouts were breaking the treaty, which meant something bad was coming. She took out her comm unit to send a message to headquarters, but before she could, a sound came from behind them. Ember turned fast, her body tense and ready to fight. A Vrexian scout stood there, pointing a weapon at them. The alien must have been patrolling the area and found them watching. "Intruder detected," the Vrexian said in a flat voice. "Stand down or be destroyed." Lyra had no time to think. She gave Ember the signal and the dragon opened her mouth. A stream of fire shot out, hitting the ground near the Vrexian. The alien jumped back and Lyra used that moment to pull her own weapon. But instead of shooting, she kicked the alien hard in the chest, sending it down the hill. Ember, we need to go now, Lyra shouted as she jumped on the dragon's back. They had to warn the Alliance about the scouts. If the Vrexians were coming back, it meant war would come too. The dragon spread her wings and leaped into the air just as plasma bolts flew past them. The Vrexian was shooting at them, but Ember was fast. She flew low using the trees as cover, moving in a zigzag pattern to avoid being hit. More shots came from below. The Vrexians in the valley had seen them too and were firing up at them. Ember went higher above the tree line where she could fly faster. Lyra held tight to her dragon's neck as they sped toward Alliance headquarters. The wind rushed past her face and she narrowed her eyes, looking ahead. They flew for many miles, over forests and fields, past small towns where people looked up in surprise at the dragon flying so fast. Normally, Lyra and Ember would patrol slowly, watching for trouble, but now they raced against time. The Vrexians would know they had been discovered and might move faster with whatever plan they had. Alliance headquarters came into view, a group of buildings surrounded by a high wall. Human and Eldorian flags flew side by side, showing the unity between the two peoples. Guards at watchtowers saw them coming and opened the main gate. Ember flew down and landed in the central yard where soldiers stopped to watch. Commander Hayes came out of the main building, her face serious. She was human, with short gray hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. She had fought in the Great Incursion too, and now led the combined forces of humans and Eldorians. Commander Lyra said as she slid off Ember and saluted, "We have a situation. Vrexian scouts, 3 ships in the East Valley. They are setting up some kind of equipment." Susan Hayes' face grew darker at the news. "Bring your report inside," she said, looking around at the soldiers who had gathered. "Show me exactly what you saw." Inside the command center, Lyra described everything, while Hayes and other officers listened. They looked at maps and Lyra pointed to where the Vrexian ships were. Hayes ordered a drone to fly over the area to get more information. The drone feed showed the valley, but the Vrexian ships were gone. They had moved fast after being discovered. "This is bad," Hayes said. "The pattern matches what they did before the Great Incursion. They send scouts, they test our defenses, then they attack in force." Lyra felt cold fear inside her. "What do we do?" she asked. Hayes walked to the communication station. "We alert the Alliance fleet and prepare for the worst. Those scouts mean Queen Azira is planning something, and if the Queen herself is involved this time, we are in serious trouble." The name of the Vrexian Queen made everyone in the room go quiet. Queen Azira was known for her cruelty and her hatred of humans and Eldorians. She had led the first invasion, and only retreated when the Alliance forces managed to destroy half her fleet. Even then, she swore to return and finish what she started. "We need to prepare for an attack." Hayes continued, "Send word to all outposts, increase patrols, double the guards at all settlements. Lyra, I want you and Ember to fly to the orbital station and deliver a message directly to Admiral Chen. Tell her we have a Code Red situation." Lyra nodded, knowing what this meant. Code Red was the highest alert. The last time it was used was during the Great Incursion. She felt a mix of emotions. Fear, yes, but also determination. The Vrexians had taken her mother, had destroyed her village, had hurt so many people. She would not let them do it again. Outside, Ember sensed her mood and made a soft sound. Lyra stroked the dragon's neck. "We have work to do, girl," she said. "We need to get to the orbital station fast." As they prepared to leave, Lyra thought about the soldier who saved her all those years ago. Was she still alive somewhere? Did she know the Vrexians were coming back? Lyra wished she could find her to thank her and to tell her that she had kept her promise. She had become strong enough to protect others. Ember spread her wings again, and they took off, flying straight up toward the space station that orbited Eldoria. The wind grew colder as they went higher, but neither Lyra nor her dragon-minded dragons could fly even in the thin upper air where most creatures could not breathe. Below them, Eldoria looked peaceful and beautiful. Blue oceans, green forests, white mountains. Lyra promised herself she would keep it that way no matter what came next. The Vrexians would not take her home. Not again, not ever. As they flew higher, Lyra saw small ships leaving the planet. Defense fighters were already being launched. The Alliance was preparing for war, and somewhere out in space, Queen Azira was coming with her fleet, coming to finish what she started 20 years ago. But this time Lyra and the Alliance would be ready. This time they would not be taken by surprise. The orbital station grew larger as they approached a massive structure of metal and glass where humans and Eldorians worked together to monitor space around their world. Ember slowed down as they neared the docking bay for special vessels like her, the station crew. The orbital station was busy with people running everywhere. Alarms sounded and red lights flashed on walls. Lyra walked fast through metal halls with Ember following close behind. The dragon had to lower her head to fit through the human-sized doors. Officers and workers moved out of their way, some looking scared at the sight of a dragon inside the station. Admiral Melody Chen waited for them in the command center. She was a tall woman with a stern face wearing the blue uniform of the Alliance Fleet 4. Gold stars on her collar showed her high rank. She stood by a large screen that showed many small dots moving toward Eldoria Lyra. "Winters," Admiral Chen said with a nod. "Thank you for coming so quickly." Commander Hayes sent word of your discovery. Lyra saluted the Admiral. "We saw 3 scout ships in the East Valley, but they moved after spotting us." The Admiral pointed to the screen. "These are not just scouts anymore," she said. "Our long-range scanners have detected a large fleet. Entering our system, at least 50 vessels, maybe more. They are moving fast and will reach orbit in less than 24 hours. Lyra felt her stomach tighten. 50 ships meant thousands of Rexian soldiers. This was a full invasion force, just like, before, maybe bigger. "Do we know who commands them?" she asked, though she already guessed the answer. Admiral Chen nodded, looking grim. "Our intelligence suggests Queen Azira herself is leading this fleet. The Vrexian royal ship has been identified among the vessels." The news was worse than Lyra expected. Queen Azira was known for her battle skills and her hate for humans and Eldorians. If she was coming herself, it meant this attack was personal. "What are our defenses?" Lyra asked, looking at the screen, where the dots representing enemy ships kept coming. "We have 20 Alliance warships in the system," Chen said, "plus the orbital defenses and ground forces. We are outnumbered, but reinforcements are on the way. The Alliance flagship Horizon is coming, with Admiral Catherine Blake commanding. She brings 15 more ships." Admiral Blake Lyra had heard that name. The legendary commander who had never lost a battle. Some said she had fought in the Great Incursion and had faced Queen Azira before, but those were just stories passed around by younger officers. "When will she arrive?" Lyra asked. Chen checked another screen. 3 days at best. That means we must hold the Vrexians back until then. Every hour we can delay them gives our people more time to prepare." The Admiral turned to Lyra. "I need you and your dragon squadron to run interference missions. Your dragons can move fast and hit hard. They might not stop the Vrexian ships, but they can slow them down." Lyra stood straight and nodded, understanding. Her mission, "Yes, Admiral." "We will do whatever it takes," Good Chen said. "Now go prepare your squadron. You launch in 2 hours." Lyra left the command center with Ember and headed to the Dragon Bay, where 5 other riders waited with their dragons. Each dragon was different in color and size. Some breathed fire like Ember. Others had special abilities like ice breath or poison. All were created by the same science that made Ember years ago. They were the elite dragon squadron, the best flyers in the Alliance. "Listen up," Lyra said to the riders who gathered around her. "The Vrexians are back. A full invasion fleet will reach us in less than a day. Admiral Chen wants us to slow them down, buy time for reinforcements." Maya stood up from where she sat beside her blue dragon Frost. Her face showed worry but also determination. "How many ships?" she asked. 50, maybe more, Lyra answered. "And Queen Azira leads them." The news made everyone go quiet. They all knew what that meant. The Queen who had ordered the death of thousands during the Great Incursion was coming back to finish what she started. Zoe, a young rider with short black hair, spoke next. "What exactly is our mission interference?" Lyra explained. "We fly out to meet the fleet before it reaches orbit. We target their engines, navigation systems, weapons, anything to slow them down. We are not trying to destroy them, just delay them." Owen, The oldest rider in the group scratched his beard. Are we getting fighter support? Lyra nodded. Yes, 2 squadrons of Alliance fighters will fly with us. But remember, fighters cannot go where dragons can. Our advantage is speed and maneuverability. Use it. The riders nodded, understanding. They had trained for years for a moment like this, though many hoped it would never come. They knew the risks, but also knew their duty. Get your dragons ready, Lyra continued. Check all gear. Weapons, comm systems, armor. We launch in 2 hours. Any questions? When there were none, she dismissed the group and turned to prepare her own dragon. Ember needed her armor plate secured around her chest and neck, areas that would be targeted by enemy weapons. The plates were light but strong, made from special metal that could resist plasma shots. As Lyra worked strapping the armor to her dragon, she thought again about the human soldier who saved her long ago. The memory gave her strength. She was no longer that scared child. She was a warrior now, ready to fight for her world. 2 hours passed quickly. The dragon squadron assembled in the launch bay. 6 dragons and their riders lined up ready for battle. Lyra looked at each rider, seeing determination on their faces. They were scared, yes, but brave too. These were her friends, her family now. She would lead them well. The bay doors opened, showing the blackness of space with Eldoria big and blue below them. The planet looked peaceful from here. No sign yet of the coming battle. But somewhere out there in the darkness, the Vrexian fleet was coming closer. Every minute, dragons ready, Lyra called out. Ready came the answer from 5 voices. Launch. The dragons pushed off from the station floor and floated out into space. Unlike normal animals, these dragons could survive in vacuum for short times. They did not need to breathe for up to an hour, thanks to their special design. Their wings worked not by catching air, but by pushing against magnetic fields, a technology that humans still did not fully understand. Once clear of the station, the dragons activated their space drives, small devices attached to their armor that let them move fast in space. Blue light glowed from these drives as the dragons accelerated forward. 12 Alliance fighters joined them. Small arrow-shaped ships with human pilots inside. Lyra led the formation, away from the station toward the direction where the Vrexian fleet would come. The plan was to meet them far from Eldoria, to keep the battle away from the planet as long as possible. The dragons and fighters flew in silence for almost an hour before. The sensors on Lyra's armor started beeping. Contact, she said into her comm system. Multiple ships ahead. On the small screen on her wrist, she could see the enemy fleet, dozens of dark shapes moving against the stars. The Vrexian ships were large, with sharp angles like giant metal insects. Their hulls were black, absorbing light instead of reflecting it, making them hard to see until you were close. In the center of the fleet was one massive ship twice the size of the others. That would be the Royal Vessel Queen Aziris command ship. The sight of it made Lyra's heart beat faster with both fear and anger. Squadron, spread out target pattern Alpha. Lyra ordered. The fighters will take the front ships. We go for the middle ones. Remember, target engines and weapons only. We want to slow them, not destroy them. The squadron split into pairs, each dragon with a rider moving toward different targets. Lyra and Ember went straight for a medium-sized vessel near the center. The ship must have seen them coming, because suddenly lights flashed on its surface and weapon ports opened. Evasive Lyra shouted as plasma bolts shot toward them. Ember rolled to the side, avoiding the shots. The dragon knew what to do without being told. Their bond was so strong they almost shared thoughts. Sometimes Lyra felt like they were one being, not two. They flew close to the ship, weaving between plasma shots. Ember opened her mouth and breathed fire at one of the weapon ports. The special flame worked even in space because it was not normal fire but a chemical reaction that burned hot enough to melt metal. The weapon melted into useless slag around them. The battle had begun. Other dragons attacked different ships. Fire, ice, and acid hit Vrexian vessels, making holes in armor or freezing systems. The fighters fired missiles at the front ships, trying to break their formation. Some missiles hit, causing explosions that lit up space. Others were shot down by Vrexian defenses. A large ship turned toward Lyra and Ember. bringing more weapons to bear. The dragon dodged most shots, but one caught her wing. The armor there protected her from serious damage, but the force pushed them off course. Lyra patted Ember's neck. "You okay, girl?" The dragon rumbled in response and turned, back toward the enemy. They would not give up so easily. They flew under the ship where fewer guns could target them. Ember breathed fire at the engines, making metal glow red and systems fail. The ship slowed its movement, becoming sluggish. More plasma. Shots came from other ships. The Vrexians had realized the dragons were dangerous and were focusing fire on them. Lyra saw one of her squadron, Maya and Frost, taking heavy fire. Their armor was holding, but for how long? Fall back and regroup, Lyra ordered. Her squadron, "We hit and run. No staying in one place too long." The dragons pulled away, regrouped, then attacked from a different angle. This time they targeted navigation systems, communication arrays, sensor dishes, anything that would make the Vrexian ships harder to control. They were not trying to win, just delay. For hours the battle continued. The dragons and fighters would attack, then retreat, then attack again. Their smaller numbers meant they could not stop the Vrexian fleet, but they were slowing it down. Every damaged ship had to reduce speed. Every broken system meant delays while repairs were made, but the cost was high. 2 fighters exploded, hit by too many plasma bolts. The Vrexian fleet arrived at dawn. The ships came from the direction of the rising sun, making them hard to see at first. Then they were everywhere, filling the sky above Eldoria. 50 warships in attack formation, their black hulls absorbing sunlight, their weapons ready. Lyra and her dragon squadron launched from the orbital station, joining 20 Alliance warships that formed a defensive line around the planet. The Alliance ships were smaller than the Vrexian vessels, but had better shields and faster engines. Their captains were experienced fighters, many who had survived the Great Incursion. "This is Commander Winters calling all squadron members," Lyra spoke into her comm system. "Remember your training. Target engines and weapons. Stay in pairs, watch each other's backs." The dragons spread out, each with a fighter escort. They would attack from different angles, using their speed and smaller size as advantages against the bigger ships. Ember flew at the front, her red scales catching sunlight. As Lyra's second-in-command, Maya flew nearby on her ice dragon, Frost. The two made a good team fire, and ice hitting enemy ships from different sides. On the bridge of the Alliance flagship, Defender Admiral Chen gave orders to her fleet defensive. "Formation Alpha," she said. "Protect the orbital stations and the planet. Priority to civilian areas." The Alliance ships moved, forming a shield between Eldoria and the Vrexian fleet. Weapon systems, powered-up shields strengthened. This would be the real test. The dragons had delayed the enemy but could not stop them. Now the main battle would begin inside her command ship. Queen Azira watched the Alliance preparations with cold eyes. The Vrexian queen was tall, with scaled skin that shifted colors in the light. Her eyes were black with no white showing. Her head had no hair but was covered in small scales that formed patterns showing her royal status. She wore armor made from some unknown metal that seemed to absorb light. "Pathetic," she said to her commanders. "They think they can stand against us. Begin the attack. Focus fire on their largest ships. Ignore the dragons for now. They are a distraction." The Vrexian fleet surged forward. The front ships fired first, plasma cannons sending bright blue bolts toward the Alliance vessels. Some shots hit shields, making them glow. Others missed as the Alliance ships moved with surprising speed. The battle began in earnest. Alliance ships firing back with laser cannons and missile launchers. Explosions lit up space as missiles found targets or were shot down. Plasma bolts flew in all directions, making it dangerous for any ship, or dragon. Lyra and Ember dove toward a Vrexian cruiser that was targeting one of the smaller Alliance ships. The dragon breathed fire at the cruiser's weapons, melting 2 plasma cannons. A fighter following them fired missiles at the same spot, creating a gap in the ship's defenses. "Good hit," Lyra said to the fighter pilot. "Continue the attack pattern." Around them, the battle grew more intense. 3 Vrexian ships surrounded an Alliance vessel, firing from different directions. Its shields failed after several hits, and plasma tore through the hull. The ship broke apart, crew members ejecting in escape pods that fell toward Eldoria Admiral Chen saw the destruction from her bridge. The Vrexians had superior numbers and were using them well, spreading out to attack from multiple angles. "We need to tighten our formation," she ordered. "Give covering fire to escape pods." The Alliance ships moved closer together, creating a stronger defensive line. Their combined shields would be harder to break, but this also made them easier targets for the Vrexian fleet in space. Lyra and her squadron continued their attacks, hitting ship after ship, causing damage, but not enough to stop the invasion. The Vrexians kept coming despite losses, pushing toward Eldoria with determination. A massive blast suddenly lit up space brighter than the sun. One of the Vrexian ships had exploded, completely destroyed by concentrated fire from 3 Alliance vessels. The explosion damaged nearby Vrexian ships, giving the Alliance a brief advantage. "Press the attack," Admiral Chen ordered. The Alliance fleet moved forward, weapons firing continuously. Dragons and fighters flew between the larger ships, attacking targets of opportunity. The battle seemed to be turning. Then from the royal ship came a new weapon. A beam of energy, purple and strange, cut through space, hitting an Alliance cruiser. And ship did not explode. Instead, it seemed to fold in on itself, crushing into a small, dense ball of metal that then exploded with terrible force. What was that? Lyra gasped, seeing the destruction. The Vrexians had never used such a weapon before. "Unknown," came the response from Admiral Chen. "But we have more problems. The Vrexians are launching landing craft, hundreds of them, small and fast, heading for the planet Lyra." Understood immediately. This was the real invasion plan. The space battle was partly a distraction. While the Alliance fleet fought the warships, Vrexian soldiers would land on Eldoria and begin the ground war squadron redirect. She ordered, "Target the landing craft." Nothing gets through to the surface. The dragons turned, flying after the smaller Vrexian vessels. These were harder targets, fast and maneuverable, but they had lighter armor. Ember's fire cut through one landing craft, making it explode. Other dragons had similar success, but there were too many. "Some will get through," Admiral Chen said on the comm. "We need ground forces ready. Commander Hayes is coordinating planetside." "Tell her landing craft are incoming." Lyra sent the message while still fighting. She and Ember destroyed 3 more landing craft, but for every one they stopped, 5 more flew past toward Eldoria. The planet below them had visible fires now where Vrexian weapons had hit, or where crashed ships had fallen. Smoke rose from forests and fields. Hours passed. The battle continued with neither side gaining a clear advantage. The Alliance fleet fought well, destroying several Vrexian warships but losing vessels of their own. The dragons and fighters kept attacking, moving between bigger ships, causing damage wherever they could. But the Vrexians had numbers on their side. For every ship they lost, they still had many more. The strange crushing weapon had been fired twice, more destroying Alliance ships with terrible efficiency. And the landing craft kept coming, wave after wave, heading for the planet. Lyra and Ember had been fighting non-stop for hours. The dragon was tired, her fire less hot, her movements slower. Lyra herself felt exhaustion in every muscle. Her eyes burned from staring into space. Her hands hurt from gripping the handles. On Ember's neck armor, Maya flew beside them on Frost. The ice dragon was in no better shape. Ice crystals formed slower around her mouth. Her blue scales dulled with exhaustion. "We need to rest," Maya said through the comm. "The dragons cannot keep this pace much longer." Lyra knew she was right, but hated to admit it. "Fall back to the orbital station," she ordered her squadron. "Refuel, rest, repair." 20 minutes, then back to battle. The dragons turned, flying toward the station. Some fighters went with them as escort, others stayed to continue the fight. As they approached the station, Lyra saw it was damaged. One section had been hit by plasma fire, part of it open to space. Emergency teams worked to seal the breach inside. The station was chaos, wounded, people everywhere. Some missing limbs, others with burns from plasma or electrical fires. Medics ran between them, doing what they could with limited supplies. The dragons went to their bay, finding food and water, while technicians checked their armor. For damage, Lyra found a communication station and contacted Commander Hayes on the surface. "Susan, how is it down there?" Hayes' voice came through, filled with static. "Bad Vrexian troops have landed in 3 major areas. We are holding them back from cities, but taking heavy losses. They have some new kind of soldier, bigger, stronger than before. That matched what Lyra had seen in space. The Vrexians had new weapons, new tactics. They had prepared well for this second invasion. Any word from Admiral? Blake Lyra asked, hoping for good news. Hayes paused before answering. Still 1 day out. Maybe less if they push their engines, but Lyra, I am not sure we can last that long. The words hit Lyra hard. They might not win this battle after all their preparation. All their training, they might still lose Eldoria to the Vrexians, just like before. No, she thought. Not just like before. This time they were fighting back. This time they had dragons and better weapons. This time they knew what they faced. Tell your troops to hold, Commander, she said. We are coming back out. We will stop more landing craft from reaching you. There was another pause then, Hayes' voice stronger. I understand. We will hold as long as we can. Good hunting. Commander Lyra turned back to her squadron who had rested and eaten. The dragons looked better, their scales brighter, their eyes more alert. The riders too stood straighter, ready to continue the fight. Back to battle, she told them. The people on the ground are counting on us. We need to stop those landing craft. The squadron launched again, flying back into the chaos of battle. The situation had worsened. More Alliance ships showed damage, their shields flickering or gone. The Vrexian fleet pressed its advantage, moving closer. To Eldoria, Lyra led her dragons straight toward a group of landing craft that had just launched from a Vrexian carrier. The small vessels flew in tight formation, heading for the planet. Ember breathed fire, catching one craft, making it spin out of control and crash into another. Both exploded in a ball of flame. More landing craft came from other carriers, a seemingly endless stream of them. Maya and Frost hit them with ice-freezing engines and weapons, making the craft drop from the sky. Owen and his brown dragon Quake used their sound weapon, creating vibrations that tore metal apart. But for all they destroyed, more kept coming. The Vrexians had planned. Admiral Blake gathered the commanders in the strategy room of the orbital station. The room was large, with a round table in the center. Above the table floated a hologram showing the damaged Vrexian royal ship. Smaller holograms showed other enemy vessels and troop positions on Eldoria. Lyra sat with Commander Hayes, Admiral Chen, and 5 other Alliance leaders. Blake stood at the head of the table, looking at each person. Her uniform was perfect, not a wrinkle showing despite the battle. She moved with confidence that came from years of command. The Vrexian fleet has retreated to the far side of the moon. Blake began. They are making repairs and regrouping. They will attack again in approximately 48 hours. Our advantage is temporary. We must use it. She waved a hand and the hologram changed, showing the royal ship in more detail. This is our target, she continued. Queen Azira's command vessel. Our scans show significant damage to weapons and shields, but life support and engines are functional. The Queen is still on board. Commander Hayes leaned forward. How do you know that? Blake smiled slightly. I know Azira. She would never abandon her ship. Even damaged, it has escape pods and is well defended. She will stay, expecting us to let her retreat. Lyra studied the hologram. The ship was massive, with multiple levels and thousands of rooms. How would they find one Vrexian queen in such a huge vessel? What's the plan, Admiral? She asked. Blake touched the hologram, zooming in on one section. A small team will infiltrate the royal ship, locate Queen Azira, and capture her. The Vrexians follow a strict hierarchy. Without their queen, they will be disorganized. Easy to defeat, Admiral Chen frowned. With respect, Admiral, that seems impossible. The ship will have hundreds, maybe thousands of soldiers. Blake nodded. Yes, but most will be occupied with repairs. And I know that ship, I have been on it before. Everyone looked at Blake with surprise. No one had ever been on a Vrexian ship and returned to tell about it, especially not the royal vessel. During the Great Incursion, Blake explained, I was captured, spent 3 days on that ship before escaping. I memorized its layout, security systems, patrol patterns. They will have changed some things, but the basic structure remains the same. She touched the hologram again, highlighting a small area near the bottom of the ship. This is a maintenance entrance, used for repairs when in space dock. Normally sealed, but the damage they sustained should have exposed it. The Vrexians won't expect an attack from this direction. Commander Hayes still looked skeptical. You want to send a team into the heart of enemy territory to kidnap their queen. It seems like suicide. Blake looked at her coolly. Not if. We have the right team. The mission requires speed, stealth, and surprise. A small team can move through the ship undetected, where a larger force would be noticed and stopped. Who would go on such a mission? Admiral Chen asked. Blake turned to Lyra. Commander, Winters and her dragon would lead along with myself and 2 special operatives I have brought on. The horizon. Lyra felt everyone looking at her. She sat straighter, trying to appear confident, though inside she felt fear mixed with excitement. A mission to capture Queen Azira, the alien who had ordered the destruction of her village, who had caused so much death and pain. The chance to end the war. What about the dragons? Admiral Lyra asked. Ember is large. She cannot move through the ship unnoticed. The dragons would get us to the entrance, Blake explained. Then wait outside to provide extraction when we have the queen. My operatives and I would move through the ship while you guard our exit. Ember has proven she can fight in space. That makes her perfect for this role. The plan was daring, maybe impossible, but something about the way Blake explained it made it seem possible. The Admiral spoke with such certainty, such detailed knowledge, it gave Lyra confidence. When would this happen? Lyra asked. Blake looked at the time display. Tomorrow at dawn. The Vrexians will be at their lowest alertness after working through the night on repairs. That gives us 12 hours to prepare. The other commanders asked more questions about fleet positions, backup, plans, what to do if the mission failed. Blake answered each one, showing she had considered every angle. She had contingencies for each possible problem. As the meeting ended, Blake asked Lyra to stay. The Admiral waited until everyone else had left. Before speaking, you have questions, Commander, Blake said. It was not a question, but a statement. Lyra nodded. You saved me during the Great Incursion, she said. Why did you never say anything? When I reported to you on missions over the years, you never mentioned it. Blake sat down, looking suddenly tired. That day in your village was one of many battles I fought. She explained. I saved who I could, carried children to safety when possible. I did not remember you specifically until I saw your eyes today, the same green eyes from 20 years ago. She paused, looking at Lyra with something like pride. You have grown into a fine officer. Commander, your record is impressive, especially with the Dragon program. Thank you. Admiral Lyra said, still feeling strange, talking to the woman who had shaped her life without knowing it. But there is more, isn't there, about you and Queen Azira? Something personal? Blake's face hardened. Yes, she said. The Queen and I have history. She believes I betrayed her. During the Great Incursion, I infiltrated her ship. Posed as a new officer, I was gathering intelligence for the Alliance. When she discovered me, she took it as a personal insult. I escaped, destroying half her fleet in the process. That explained why the Queen hated Blake so much, why she had ordered her ships to focus on the horizon. Do you think this plan can work? Lyra asked honestly. Blake looked at her with those piercing eyes. The ones that seemed to see everything. I would not propose it if I didn't, she said, but I need someone I can trust. Someone who fights not just for duty, but for something deeper. You lost your mother in that village, didn't you? Lyra nodded, surprised the Admiral knew that detail. That gives you motivation. Blake continued. A reason to see this through no matter what. I need that commitment for this mission. I will not fail you, Admiral, Lyra said, meaning every word. Blake stood up. Good, now. Get your dragon ready. We leave at dawn. And Commander, this conversation stays between us. Lyra left to find Ember. The dragon was in the medical bay having her burns treated. The damage from the plasma bolt was not serious but needed attention. The dragon rumbled happily, seeing Lyra approach. Hey girl, Lyra said, stroking Ember's neck. We have a special mission tomorrow. Just you and me going to the royal ship. Ember made a sound that seemed like a question. Her intelligent eyes focused on Lyra. Yes. It's dangerous, Lyra admitted. But Admiral Blake will be with us. The woman who saved me as a child, can you believe it after all these years? The dragon nudged her gently as if to say she understood how important this was. Lyra hugged Ember's large head, feeling the warm scales against her cheek. She and this dragon had been through so much, together. Now they faced their greatest challenge across the station. Maya found Lyra as she left the medical bay. The other writer looked worried. I heard rumors, she said, that you and Ember are going on some secret mission to the royal ship News Travels. Fast, Lyra said with a small smile. Yes, it's true. Admiral Blake is leading a team to capture Queen Azira Ember, and I will provide transportation. And cover. Maya shook her head. It's too dangerous, Lyra. The royal ship, even damaged, has hundreds of soldiers. You and Ember barely survived today. Lyra put a hand on her friend's shoulder. This could end the war. Maya. One mission to capture their queen, and the Vrexians will have to retreat. But why you? Maya asked. Why not send more dragons, more soldiers? Because a small team can move undetected, Lyra explained. And because Blake asked for me specifically, she thinks we can do this. Maya still looked unhappy but nodded. If anyone can do it, it's you and Ember. She admitted. Just promise me you'll come back. Lyra smiled. I promise, she said. Now help me check Ember's armor. We need everything perfect for tomorrow. The two riders worked for hours repairing the dragon's armor, replacing damaged plates, checking the oxygen system that allowed Ember to survive in space. They prepared weapons, 2 small plasma pistols for Lyra, a fresh fire fuel mixture for Ember. Everything had to be ready as they worked. Lyra saw Admiral Blake moving through the station, checking systems, talking with officers. The Admiral seemed to be everywhere at once, making sure all was prepared for tomorrow, both for the infiltration mission and for the larger battle that might follow. Night came, though in space it meant little. The station dimmed its lights to simulate darkness, allowing people to sleep. Lyra tried to rest, knowing she would need her strength tomorrow, but sleep was difficult. Her mind kept going over Blake's plan, looking for problems, thinking of solutions. She thought about Queen Azira too, the Vrexian ruler who had caused so much suffering. Tomorrow Lyra might stand face to face with her. What would she feel? Anger, hate, fear, all of those probably. But also, determination. The queen had to be stopped. Morning came too quickly. Lyra rose, dressed in her flight suit, and went to the Dragon Bay. Ember was already awake, eating a large meal to build her strength. Maya was there too, helping with final preparations. Admiral Blake arrived wearing not her formal uniform, but a black combat suit designed for stealth. With her were 2 others similarly dressed, a man and a woman with no insignia or rank markings. Special operatives trained for missions like this. This is Lynn and Darius. Blake introduced them. My best infiltration team. The operatives nodded to Lyra, saying nothing. They checked their equipment with practiced movements. These were people who had done. 3 days passed since the capture of Queen Azira. The Vrexian fleet remained behind the moon, not attacking, but not retreating either. They sent messages demanding the return of their ruler, threatening destruction if she was harmed. Admiral Blake ignored these threats instead. Preparing the Alliance fleet for whatever might come, Lyra recovered from the mission. Her minor injuries healed. Ember, too, was healing well. The dragon once again strong and ready to fly. The dragon squadron flew patrols around Eldoria, watching for any Vrexian movement. On the ground, Commander Hayes and her troops pushed back the remaining alien soldiers. Most surrendered when they learned their queen was captured. Others fought to the death, showing the fanatical loyalty some Vrexians had for Azira. Inside the orbital station, Blake Chen and other leaders debated what to do with their royal prisoner. Some wanted to use Azira as a bargaining chip, exchange her for a permanent peace treaty. Others suggested putting her on trial for war crimes from the Great Incursion. No consensus was reached. Lyra was summoned to a high-level meeting. She entered the command center, finding Admiral Blake, Admiral Chen, Commander Hayes, and 3 Alliance diplomats gathered around the table. They looked up as she entered. Commander Winters. Blake said, "Thank you for coming. We have a situation that requires your assistance." Lyra saluted, then took the empty seat. "What can I do?" Admiral Blake activated a hologram, showing the secure cell where Queen Azira was held. The queen sat motionless on a simple bench, her scaled skin dull in the artificial light. "She refuses to speak with our negotiators," Blake explained. She says she will only communicate with two people, myself and you, Lyra. Blinked in surprise. Me? Why would she want to talk to me? The Queen has not explained her reasons, Blake said. But this is the first opening she's given us. We need to take it. What about you? Admiral Hayes asked. Why would she want to speak with you, her? Enemy Blake smiled slightly. Perhaps to gloat, perhaps to negotiate, or perhaps to learn how I infiltrated her ship twice. She has many questions, I'm sure. Admiral Chen leaned forward. This could be a trap, she warned. The Queen is cunning. She may have some plan. She is securely bound, Blake replied. All weapons and technology removed from her person. The cell has triple security. We will be safe. Lyra looked at the hologram again, studying the alien Queen. What exactly do you want from this meeting? She asked. Information. Blake said the location of Rexian supply depots, their communication codes, their battle plans. If we know these things, we can end this war without further bloodshed. If not, we face a prolonged conflict. Lyra nodded, understanding. The importance. I am ready when you are. Admiral. Good. Blake stood, ending the meeting. We go now while the Queen is still willing to talk. They left the command center, walking through the station toward the secure area. Guards stood at attention as they passed. Some looked at Lyra with newfound respect. The story of her part in capturing Queen Azira had spread throughout the Alliance forces. She was becoming a hero, though she did not feel like one. The secure area was separated from the rest of the station by multiple checkpoints. Each required identification scans and authorization codes. Blake moved through these with practiced ease. Finally, they reached the highest security section, where only one cell was occupied. Two guards stood outside the cell door, both armed with special weapons designed to incapacitate Vrexians without killing them. Blake nodded to them. Open it, she ordered. The cell door slid open, revealing Queen Azira sitting exactly as in the hologram. She did not look up as they entered, though Lyra knew the Queen was aware of them. Her restraints glowed with energy fields that would prevent any sudden movements. Her scaled skin seemed less vibrant in person, the colors muted by captivity. Blake stood before her. Lyra, slightly behind you, wish to speak with us, Azira. The Queen finally looked up. Her black eyes showed no emotion, her face unreadable to someone unfamiliar with Vrexian expressions. But Lyra sensed anger. Carefully controlled. Admiral Blake. Queen Azira, said, her voice surprisingly melodic despite the harshness of her words. And the Dragon Rider, the half-blood who helped capture me. I am Commander Lyra Winters. Lyra said, keeping her voice steady. The Queen studied her. You have your mother's eyes, half-blood. Did you know that? Lyra felt a chill. How would the Queen know her mother? Unless she was there at the village during the attack. The realization made Lyra tense. Why did you ask for this meeting? Azira, Blake asked, drawing the Queen's attention away from Lyra. Azira shifted her restrained hands to see my captors, to understand who defeated me and to offer you a choice. Blake raised an eyebrow. A choice, the Queen nodded slowly. My fleet stands ready to attack this station and your planet. They wait only for my command. Blake smiled. That would be difficult since you are here. A small device implanted in my brain. Azira explained. If I do not send a specific signal every 12 hours, my fleet will attack with all weapons. They will destroy this station, your fleet, and bombard your world until nothing lives. They care not if I die in the attack. My death would only fuel their vengeance. Lyra looked at Blake, seeing concern flash across the Admiral's face. Was this true? Could the Queen really order an attack while captive? Blake seemed to consider this. You said you offer a choice. What choice? Azira leaned forward. Release me. Return me to my ship, and I will order my fleet to withdraw from this system permanently. And if we refuse, Blake asked, then in 9 hours when the signal is due, my fleet will attack. The Queen smiled, showing pointed teeth. You may kill me if you wish, but my death ensures yours as well. Blake and Lyra exchanged looks. This could be a bluff. But if true, the consequences of guessing wrong were too severe. You said permanently, Blake said carefully. Define that, Azira tilted her head. The Vrexian Empire will recognize Eldoria and all Alliance worlds as sovereign territory. We will not attack them again. That seems too easy, Blake replied. What do you gain from this agreement? The Queen looked directly at her. My life, my ship, my fleet, the opportunity to conquer elsewhere. The galaxy is vast, Admiral. There are easier targets than worlds protected by dragons and commanders like you, Lyra spoke up suddenly. Why did you attack us in the first place? Our world offered you nothing. Azira's black eyes shifted to her. You are wrong, half-blood. Your world has resources we need. Minerals, water, living space. But more importantly, Azira looked back at Blake. It had someone I wanted to destroy. Blake nodded, understanding. Someone who humiliated you. 20 years ago, Azira hissed softly. Yes, you infiltrated my ship, posed as one of my officers, gained my trust, then betrayed me, stole valuable information, destroyed half my fleet when you escaped. No one had ever done such a thing. I swore vengeance. So the invasion of Eldoria. Blake said, all those deaths, the destruction was because of me. The Queen smiled again. A personal vendetta. Yes. And now here we are. You have captured me. I offer peace in exchange for freedom. A simple transaction. Blake turned away, walking to the far side of the cell. Her face troubled. Lyra followed. Leaving the Queen on her bench, can we trust her? Lyra whispered. Blake shook her head. I don't know. The threat could be real. Vrexian royalty often have neural implants, but even if we release her, what guarantees do we have that she will honor the agreement? Lyra thought for a moment. What if we demand more? She suggested. Not just her release, but a formal treaty. Hostages, perhaps. Or Blake suddenly held up a hand to silence her. A thoughtful expression crossed her face. She turned back to the Queen, studying her with new intensity. Azira, she said, what was my name when I served on your ship? The Queen looked surprised by the question. Lieutenant Kara Bennett. You served in communications. 3rd level clearance. Blake nodded. That was my cover identity, yes. But what was my real name, the one you discovered when you found I was? Azira frowned. Why does this matter? Answer the question, Blake insisted. The Queen sighed. Catherine Blake. Special Operations Alliance. Intelligence. Blake smiled. And how did you discover my identity? Through a transmission we intercepted. Azira said. You were careless. Blake shook her head. No. That transmission was planted. I wanted you to discover me, but only after I had the information I needed. The Queen looked confused. I don't understand. Blake stepped closer to the Queen. You never asked yourself why a spy would use her real last name as part of her cover identity. Blake smiled. Bennett is my mother's maiden name. I kept it to remind myself who I really was, even undercover. But my full name, Catherine Blake Bennett, has significance. The